Hey everyone, Can Opener Dude here, and as you can clearly see, I am perpetually about 2 to 3 minutes away from logging in to the PBE. It's been this way for about 5 hours now, so I've kind of given up hope on getting on the PBE. Was able to access it for about 10 minutes, in which I played a custom game, and then was immediately booted off and haven't been able to get on since. So, yeah. Um, so I'm going to do a little bit of a brief overview first impressions video of the two champions I actually got to see, as well as a bit on the items, because I did get to try out a few of the new items. So I'm going to take a look at that and just give you a first impressions look, because I really can't do anything else until it lets me back on the PvE. Because if you'll see here, gets to position check. Now we're at 5 minutes. So I found this Reddit thread by user XX Lethian XX, and I gotta give props for the name here. It's a Star Trek reference, if I remember correctly, and I props. So what we're looking at right now is we're going to start with the marksman changes, and I have the two pulled up here that we're going to talk about. First, I want to talk about Caitlyn. So I actually played as Kog'Maw against Caitlyn, but I kind of want to go over Caitlyn first because I have less to say about her. So basically, her headshot has a new sound effect on it. It's much more unique and easier to tell when it's being used. Um, the major changes here are, like it says, it scales with her crit chance. So it does more damage based on how much crit chance she has, which is um, honestly better in my opinion. But it does give her a lot of early game damage if she can rush like Avarice Blade or something. Because then she gets guaranteed damage off a crit strike chance, which is ridiculous at her range. The Q Piltover Peacemaker. It is very narrow now, so you can miss it easier, but if you do hit something, then it widens out. And it kind of occupies the same space. It's a high mana cost, but it does good damage. But I feel like these are good changes to balance out the power that her passive headshot has gained. The traps, definitely a good change. The fact that it's on an ammo system now just makes so much more sense. And the E, again, it's some good changes. And now, what we're going to get into now is what her E and W interact with her passive with, which is that they both proc the passive, basically. If someone steps on a trap, it basically almost doubles. Yeah, it does. It double ranges your headshot. So basically, if you put a trap somewhere and they step on it, they'll get a little range indicator, and so will you. It's like a big line, and if they're within that line, then you can hit them, and it's huge. Like the distance away is literally double her attack range, and it's ridiculously good. It's great for poke, it's great for catching people out, and it's great with 90 caliber net, because then what you can do is you can really start a kiting spree off of that with some of the new items, and with the way attack speed's becoming much more prevalent with these new changes. What you do is someone jumps at you, you 90 caliber net away from them, hit them with a headshot, and then you can just start running away and pinging them and kiting them as you're running backwards. It's very, very nice. So overall, her identity has been more solidified by these changes. She definitely feels like a sit back, snipe, and harass the shit out of people, and pretty much operate in that zone of control, which fits very well with her character style and her character fantasy. So I gotta commend certainly T here, because he's created a very good kit for the champion that maybe needs to be tuned a little bit, because it's kind of powerful, but I give props to him. He's definitely put some really good ideas into here that definitely solidify her identity, so props to him. Now we move on to Kog'Maw, and Kog'Maw wasn't changed as much. He definitely was changed, but it mostly focused around his W. And so the idea behind this is that he becomes the epitome of the Juggermaw, and that's where the name comes from. Juggermaw is a Juggernaut Kog'Maw. And so it's nice that they're latching onto that and really focusing his identity around that, because that is where he really shines. So his W does literally make him a machine gun. I tested it out. I got up to I think about 3.0 attack speed using the W with some early attack speed items. So it was kind of ridiculous just how fast he was putting that out. It's not a whole lot of damage, but it is somewhat decent for clearing waves, and I can only imagine how good it's going to be late game with a lot of on-hit items and with Runans. It's going to be awesome. So I think, like they said, it's difficult for him to kite. Even once you reach max attack speed at 2.5, it's still pretty difficult to kite because there's no ramp up there. You just suddenly have it, and that can be very, very difficult if you're not a good ADC player. So I think they are right in saying that you do want to pick a spot where you can just shoot away from behind a very heavy front line or a team that can peel for you very well and just spam those auto attacks at 5 attacks per second, and it's really awesome. His ult changes are a little bit more polarizing, honestly. It's more of an execute now, and that's definitely a plus, because if there's one thing Kog'Maw lacks, it's finishing power, because he can do a lot of damage, and he can kill people if they're caught unaware. But if they get away from him, he really doesn't have anything. He has no mobility, he has no gap closer. All he's got is the slow on his Z. So having his ult be an execute really helps when they get just out of the range of that empowered auto attack. So that's very nice, and I think it's going to help a whole lot. But it also needs to scale up. It's got a pretty steep scale. So if you want it to be really effective, they got to be really low on health. So you really got to make his kit functions together now. It functioned well together before, but I think they solidified it and really brought it together into something that's more cohesive. And that's really a theme throughout all the ADC changes. They really brought these kits together and focused them around a single identity, which is something that they actually borrowed from Dota, believe it or not. Dota has these champions, these heroes, as they're called in that game for whatever stupid reason. These heroes that are designed around a single strong point, and they focus on that so hard. And seeing the marksman going that direction of just having a single fantasy that they just zero in on, and they make sure the champion fulfills that niche very well, it's great to see that they're able to perform on that. So props again to Riot Repertoire. The Kog'Maw changes were very, very good. And props again to certainly T for the Caitlyn changes, because those were very good as well. So that's really all I have for the champions. The only other thing I want to point out is some of the item changes. The one that hit me the most is going to be Trinity Force slash Iceborne Gauntlet slash Sheen. Sheen no longer grants ability power. So what that means is that Iceborne Gauntlet and Trinity Force no longer do either. And I think that is a really interesting thing, because now it just gives mana, and while it does have the Spellblade proc, Sheen itself is no longer as much of a damage spike item unless you're like TF. Again, I may be completely off base here, but that's what it feels like to me, and it's an interesting change to me, the fact that it removes ability power from Trinity Force, which was one of the staples of Trinity Force. You have AD, AP, and attack speed. And those were the three things that you got. Those were the three base things that you got from Trinity Force, and that's why it was so cool. It gives you all that. Now, they did compensate that. Trinity Force now does give cooldown reduction. I'm not entirely sure why or how, but whatever. So there is a compensation there, but I'm not sure how it's going to work out. It's going to be interesting to see. This obviously Trinity Force is still going to be a huge pickup for Yasuo for Gangplank, but it's interesting going to be how it's going to affect champions like Corki and Kog'Maw that traditionally pick this up as an ADC, but now it doesn't give ability power. It still gives the spell blades, so it'll still be useful, but are they going to shift more towards some of the newer items? We don't know. Oh, and would you look at that? It actually let me log on. So, that's all I really have for right now. I'm going to get some more games going and hopefully get some content out for tomorrow. But that's the general overview I'm getting right now. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you all in the next video.